Oh hey guys, let's learn how to make a hit effect. So in this tutorial, the reason why it's a little longer than usual is because drawing is hard and doing hit effects is not easy. So I've been working on this hit effect and I've been heavily referencing a lot of other effects artists online. I recommend that you go to flashfx.blogspot.com and go there frequently because there's some really cool things on there. I especially want to give a nod to someone who is heavily influencing this style of hit effect that I'm going for, and that's Alex Redfish. He does some incredible work. I highly recommend checking it out. I will also link his work in the comments. Okay, so you can see here we've got this hit effect, and it's got a circle in the middle, and it's got some rays coming off and some zaps. And I'm going to want to recreate this thing in the tutorial. I'm going to try to create something as similar to it as I can get. And if it's not as good as this one, if I'm not as happy with this one, then I'll use whichever one's best in the next tutorial where I'm actually going to animate it. So in this one, we're just going to figure out some things and some process to be thinking about when you're developing a still image, when you want to be creative on a hit effect. So the first step is to create our guide. And you can see here, if I turn that off, you can see the whole thing. We've got rings and radial lines, and I briefly created this guide in the last tutorial. So you can kind of fast forward if you're already like, I know how to create that. But if not, I'm just going to quickly go through how to do that. So let's go to a new frame, zoom out a bit, select the line tool, make sure your stage is set to 512 by 512. If you have nothing selected with the selection tool, then you'll see your stage size here. Over here, or by typing Control-J, you can bring up this menu and you can set the size and the color of the background and make that your default. Okay, so come in here, hold Shift with N, press N for the line tool, hold Shift to get it to go perfect diagonal, or perfect sideways, or perfect up and down. Select that guy, make sure that this doohickey is locked, and do 512 by 512, and align that guy center and center. Control Copy, which is Control C, and Control Shift V, which is paste in place. So put one right on top. Control 4 flips it horizontal. So I double click on this guy, Q for the rotate tool, Control Copy, Control Shift V. If I have snapping turned on, which is, I was just pointing with my finger, if you have snapping turned on, it will snap to a perfect 45-degree turn. Copy, Control Shift V, and then this time I'm going to need to go to Transform, rotate it 22.5, which is half of 45, and then select it all again, Control C, Control Shift V. This time put it to 11.25, which is half of 22.5, for those of you mathematicians out there. And then I want the line thickness, let's see, I should have done this earlier, but I want the line thickness with all these lines selected down to 0.1. Alright, paste that in place on the right layer. Now I'm going to do Control G to group it together. That's because I want to keep it separate from the next part, which is the rings. You can't see it because it's dark gray, but I'll make it so you can see it. Bright green. Okay, so I have the oval, O for oval tool selected, and I go like this, and I hold Shift and Alt same time so it scales evenly from the middle, and then delete the fill out of the middle. Line that guy there. I'll scale him way down. Actually, I like this trick I did before. Don't scale this guy way down, not yet. Control Copy, Control Shift V. There we go. That guy right about there. And then do one out here. And then one right there. And one right there. So then select these guys and copy all of them. I'm just holding shift while I select more, which does that, and then I can do this. And then put these in further and further. You can adjust these rings however you want. I'm not too worried about getting them precise. I just want them about evenly spaced. And now I've got my lines separate from my rings, right? Which is nice. So if I ever want to edit them, I can. But I'm going to just click down here on the layer, hit F8, say OK. And then I can set this guy to transparent over here, like down to 25 or so, or 23, whichever suits your fancy. Okay, so I've got this nice guide laid out. I'm going to use this in a lot of other tutorials too. I won't explain it in other tutorials, so don't worry. Just as a refresher, I'm going for something along this line, these lines. Okay, so different types of hit effects can be a lot of things. They could be like a fiery hit effect, or they could be like an electric hit effect, or they could be like a goopy hit effect, or it could be a magical hit effect. And in this case, I want to do more of an electric hit effect. I want to have just touches of zappiness in there to show off that kind of edgy feeling, right? So to do that, I'm going to have multiple layers because not all your rings should be about in the same spot. And I'm going to bridge these together with a piece of electricity, which is, I think, kind of cool. Saw Alex do this originally, and I thought it was freaking awesome, putting a bolt of electricity through the middle. And then notice the thick and thin, you know, I've got variation in there. Just makes it a little more interesting that way. So the fact that this ring here is on a different curve than this one is really good, because then I can come back and put a ring out on this, and it looks like that one in the middle is kind of like out closer to us, right? It's all part of the same thing. Now I want to make good use of my real estate. Let me just get rid of my menu so I can see. So I've got this square. I did it like 150. Let's try 175. There we go. So the furthest out I can go is this perfect diagonal. And I want that to feel like it's rushing out at the camera. So it's going to kind of be a little fatter than my other lines and a little more dominant, which is good. It's our primary shape. And then I'll have some other shapes too. I can get one in, say, up here in this corner that's also kind of long, but I'm not going to make it too long. I want to have big, medium, and small, remember. And then I'll do my little guy over here. Let's see, I can probably make this one bigger. Remember, this one goes out past that line there, so this one's still well within the medium range, especially because it's thinner. And then this guy here, he can be kind of short and stubby. Now I've been using this technique when I want to carve out these. I use the lasso tool. And I picked this up in Photoshop. We do it a lot in Photoshop to get like precise kinds of clipping and cutting. So you can just lasso little areas and then delete them. It's great for creating negative shapes. Alright, so get that going in there. Kind of like create a little negative shape in here. It's kind of fun. And then I want to do those other zaps, those radio zaps, and they're just going to follow the same kinds of principles. So I want one that's going to be a little bigger than the others. And I think I want to put the bigger one over here, so it just kind of emphasizes even more that, you know, there's some energy coming out towards the camera. And we can put it something like this. Alright. I'm just laying down general shapes right now. I know that my first try isn't going to be a home run every time. So I'm very willing to delete and revert stuff. And then we'll do just a little zippy zap over here. Make it feel like that's going, you know, off into the distance. Like this effect is kind of really facing towards us, you know. Just a little one there. And then, you know, we'll get like a medium guy over here. Maybe this one's a longer is his deal. Right? Not as wide, but maybe he's just elongated dude. No, I don't like it because it's kind of halfway this and it's halfway this. I like something I did in the test one that took a while to get there. So I had like a fatter side at the bottom. So it's a little variation. So these other guys get skinnier towards the middle, but this guy, he's going to break the mold and get a little fatter right there. Right. Ooh, we got the nice ocean breeze blowing through. That's nice. Like it. Summer days. Santa Monica. Alright. So we got this going on up here. Sharpen up that tip. Get it coming out to a nice point. Yeah, it's feeling pretty good so far. So the goals are to get this feeling like electricity, but also like a hard impact, right? And this will be about frame 2, where it's already had the flash of light, and now it's blasting out. And maybe on frame 3. But really, the hit effect should reach this size pretty quickly. Alright, it's feeling pretty good. Turn off my guide layer so I can check out the shapes a little better. Alright, so this right here feels kind of even. The width from there to there, it's pretty much the same. So I'm going to start carving away some negativity out of that. Get these shapes going where I need them to be. Well, that looks weird. Let's see. You know, I want this to feel like, you know, there's a line connecting that back. Should feel good. And then this is just begging for a negative shape in here as well. That's nice. That's feeling a lot better. Much more jiggity jaggedy. And then I can just grab that and pull it on down. And the rice is done. So that's always nice. Let's see. So the thickness is just kind of the same. Like this guy here and this guy here are just too similar for my liking. So I'm gonna push the thickness on this guy even more. Okay, planning on doing. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay, so right now there's like a center that goes through here, and this are evenly spaced, and I just don't like that. So I'm gonna get rid of that guy. Turn back on my guide. I'll go with this line instead. There we go. Just feels a little more asymmetrical now. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, nice and small. Just a little blip there. These two are feeling really similar to me, so find ways to just switch it up, you know? So now it steps that way both times. Then there's not enough variation there, right? So I don't know, maybe this one has two shapes connecting it down. Try that out. Yeah, that feels cool. Make sure it's following this guideline though. Right now it's tilting off a little too far in that direction. Alright, let's see. Here. Yeah. I'm just switching back and forth between the brush tool and the eraser tool, selection tool, etc. So this zigzag here is not following my style that I'm going for, because it's like more of like a curving meets jagged kind of style for this particular effect. So I need to do something about that. It needs to feel more like hooked curved and kind of brought into that shape there. Zippy zap shape. Yeah, that feels better. Thicken it up a bit. Alright. It's looking dangerous. And I'm okay with some wobble in here. I'm going to embrace the wobble in this effect. Normally my effects are super clean, like really polished, but I think sometimes you lose the life of the effect if you go too much in that direction. You need a little bit of organicness in these guys. Like so. I'm going to add a little bit of ridging. Oops, I didn't want the eraser, I wanted the paint fill. So if I add a little bit of ridging, these shapes feel less sloppy. You know, they have these nice little subtle points on them. And then a nice long curved connected. I kind of like that, it feels nice. So the thickness of this and the thickness of this are too similar for me. But I like that it's thick here. So I'm going to use the lasso tool. And I'm going to come up in here and cut away some shapes. Cut away even more. There we go. Now I've got a gap here, and a gap here that are all the same. So I'll fix that up. Make one big gap. Feels nicer. Alright, now this is coming in super thin. Let's see, maybe just a little connector like that. Yeah, I like it. Ta-da! Curve this out here, maybe a little bit. And we got it. Cool. Alright, so that zippy zap's feeling good. Let's try this guy over here. So it's kind of a process, right? Like you lay in all of your shapes generally all over the place. And then you kind of see how they're looking together as a whole. And then you go back and do the deep dive in. Doing it in that order is really important, because if you come in making all these little refinements to your shapes right away, you're going to get so lost in one little part that you're going to miss the whole. And it's going to feel disconnected from itself and weird. I'm just noticing now, this guy is tilting wrong. And I know I wanted to like make it look like a negative shape here, but I can't just go tipping my shapes over like that. So I'm going to have to just leave it like that. And there's still a negative shape there, but at least this guy's pointed outward now. That's going to be really important, especially when I start animating. So I see these little gaps in here. I can come in and either paint fill them or brush them over. I'm not too concerned about them, but when I see them and that OCD part of me flares up, then got to get rid of the little things. Alright, so this shape obviously is just a simple rough right now, but we can turn it into so much more. Add a little bit of ridging, give it a nice point right there, that's good. Alright, I liked when I did the thing, so I'm going to do it again. Add a little negative shape in there. Yeah. Sharpen up these blunt edges. It's supposed to look dangerous, man. Oh. And I don't want this positive shape to just continue straight through, so I'm offsetting this right here. So now it feels like it's zigzagging down. You can see that. Alright. Thicken that up just a hair. There we go. Alright, so this is coming down here. I'll just arch it out a little bit. That was too much. That's way too much. Undo. Get rid of it. I don't like it. Okay. So we got some shapes here that need some sharpie sharps. Make it look dangerous. I kind of like the little wobble in this here. I mean, every now and then, leaving that little curve like that, it's okay. Just add a little bit of life to things. Right? I kind of like the little guy that I've got right here. Maybe just tighten up this a bit. use the lasso tool in here, carve that out, and there we go. So yeah, I guess good news is I've got two shapes that I like, but which one is better? Battle of the shapes. Which will live on in the next tutorial? I don't really know. It's amazing what looking at some reference can do. I want to emphasize again to you guys the importance of referencing stuff. You can go onto Vimeo.com, and there's some awesome effects videos on there, Alex Redfish included. There's other guys like Matt Timms, and I believe you pronounce his name Naoki Araiza. Worked on Wakfu doing effects. I apologize if I butchered your name. All really cool dudes, and they do some really cool stuff. So yeah, I mean, both of these, I think both of these have some potential. They're both basically same style of hit effect. Now there's things about both of them that I like, but you get the idea. In the next tutorial, I'll go into animating this thing. Again, I'll be pulling lots of reference from the timing that I've noticed on a lot of other hit effects and some hit effects I've done in the past. And I hope you learned something.